All right. Story number four. All right, so we have officially reached Grammy season. Grammy voting opens this Friday, and a number of publications are running predictions around who they think will take home the big four awards. Song of the Year, Record of the Year, Album of the Year, and New Artist of the Year. Best New Artist, excuse me. And so Variety has a story talking about these categories. Let's take a look at it. I think some of it is pretty interesting. There's a few points that really jumped out at me. There have been some changes in the Recording Academy voting base, which can be significant as we move into the awards coming up in February. So let's go straight to their predictions. So we'll go with Album of the Year. Album of the Year, they are 8 leading contenders in alphabetical order: Beyonce, Cowboy Carter, Sabrina Carpenter, Short and Sweet, Charlie XCX, Brat, Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft, Ariana Grande, Eternal Sunshine, Post Malone, F1 Trillion, Boo, Yuck, Ill, Chappell Roan, The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess, Taylor Swift, The Tortured Poets Department. 8 more that could get in: Doja Cat, Scarlet. I really enjoyed that project. I really enjoyed her bringing in more of her hip-hop roots into her clearly global pop sensibilities. I like Doja Cat. She's a lot of fun to me. Future and Metro Boomin, We Don't Trust You. I honestly think that I would like to see it in the top 8. I'm not sure if the Academy is going to look at this the same way, the Recording Academy, rather. But obviously, I'm always rooting for hip-hop. Rooting for everybody rap. Casey Musgraves, Deeper Well, Chris Stapleton, Higher, Tyla, Callie Ukis, Orchideus, Vampire Weekend, Only God Was Above Us, Lainey Wilson, Whirlwind. All right, so here's what Variety has to say. As stated earlier, there are 4 likely horses in this race: Bey, Tay, Billy, and Chappell. The first 3 of those are perennial Grammy favorites and constant entrants in the field. Swift is the only artist ever to have won an Album of the Year 4 times, the most recent of which was in February for Midnight, 4 times. Taylor Swift has won Album of the Year 4 times. Beyonce has never won Album of the Year. Taylor Swift has 4 of them. Jesus. You can debate whether that makes her the front runner this time or actually sets her at a disadvantage if voters think she's won enough. But the days in which she was not guaranteed a nod for an all-new release, remember when Reputation and Lover didn't get nominated, seem to be safely behind her now. The only question is whether Tortured Poets can go the distance. Beyonce has never won Album of the Year. This is one of our culture's greatest grievances. So perhaps you've heard. Despite being nominated on her last 4 solo releases, a 5th nomination is almost a certainty for Cowboy Carter. Will it finally be her time? Earlier in 2024, Variety published a column titled, "Is Beyonce's Cowboy Carter an Unstoppable Frontrunner for Album of the Year at the Grammys?" which was a very reasonable question to pose between her she's overdue status, not that helped before, and the sheer cultural ubiquity and critical acclaim this semi-country album enjoyed. A win for her no longer seems as inevitable as it did towards the beginning of the year, as the album has kind of fallen off the public radar with no music videos, touring, further radio singles, or other promotion to keep it high in the cultural consciousness. Now, I read that sentence and I immediately thought about how quiet Jay-Z and Beyonce have been around all this Diddy stuff, So can you imagine what types of reactions Beyonce might get if she's actually on tour or more public facing with all this Diddy stuff going on? I'm not implicating her by any means, but everybody around Diddy in any fashion is catching hell right now. And Jay-Z made Family Feud on 444. Nobody wins when the Family Feud. So that's the first thought that came into my mind on that. She's still a front runner and certainly will continue to be cited as deserving, but the competition has heated up. Is Roan the dark horse? There's certainly a case to be made for it, and it'll be made stronger if her debut album, released way back in September 2023, finally manages to move up into the top slot on the Billboard 200. Something it's threatened to do for weeks, although brand new releases have kept it bubbling under as a constant in the number 2 slot. Going into the voting process, anyway, no one's star is shining any brighter or higher. Eilish has reached the point where her greatness could be taken for granted, although she's been the Grammy darling for the past 5 years. And it's worth noting that Hit Me Hard and Soft generated 3 simultaneous hit singles upon coming out in the spring, a feat that no other album in the running can also claim. But no expert is going to make an outright prediction that Eilish will beat Roan, Swift, and Beyonce. But probably no one with any sense is going to scoff at that possibility either. If these 4 are locked in, the remaining slots in the Album of the Year lineup are harder to pin down. Earlier this year, Variety ran a column asking, will men be shut out of the Album of the Year for the first time? Since then, Post Malone has come up as a contender with his full-scale move into country. Of the top 8, we're predicting Malone's may be the longest shot, or at least one that is on the bubble for a nomination, since it's not the kind of album that is likely to top many critics' 10 best lists. And country has had a hard time fielding any candidates in this category in recent years. But Posty thoroughly endeared himself to the Nashville community with his highly collaborative effort. It consists almost entirely of superstar duets, and it's hardly difficult to envision Music City voters coalescing in support for a project that features so many of the genre's top names, i.e. their friends. Now, that is really how the Recording Academy Grammy voting process works more than anything else, right? You have a music industry, thousands of music industry professionals on the public side and private side, producing songs, songwriting, and musicians of all types. And just like any other election, just like your high school election, you tend to vote for your friends. You tend to vote for the people that you like, or you tend to vote for the people that you work with. One of my favorite Grammy stories, again, is when De La Soul was nominated for Best Rap Album for The Anonymous Nobody. And that was a Kickstarter album. They raised $600,000, which was way more than they expected to be able to generate from their fans. And they spent it on what I consider probably their weirdest album, but they enlisted collaborators from all across the music industry, across all kinds of genres, right? So they had the money to make the album. The average, the minimum amount an album costs, including marketing, is at least $500,000 if you're talking about the Grammys. They raised $600,000, and they had people from all types of different genres and labels on that album in the process. I personally believe one of the reasons they ended up being nominated is because they hit the money threshold, but also because of how they diversified their collaborations. So that's what this point right here is talking about when they said about Post Malone's album. And it's hardly difficult to envision Music City voters coalescing in support for a project that features so many of the genre's top names, i.e. their friends, right? Getting back to the women that otherwise dominated pop this year, Sabrina Carpenter, Ariana Grande, and Charli XCX seem likely to see their massive popularity translate into votes for well-reviewed efforts, but the Recording Academy could well give one-time Album of the Year winner Casey Musgraves a return ticket. Her determinedly quiet effort has continued to attract applause for her willingness to keep following her mellow arrow. Straight country and hip-hop tend to be also rans when voters are casting ballots in these top 4 categories, which covers most of the other outside chancers. Now, consider that point. Straight country and hip-hop tend to be also rans when voters are casting ballots in these top 4 categories, which covers most of the other outside chancers. Outkast is the only group to win Album of the Year at the Grammys, and they did that for Speakerboxxx Love Below. Now, you have the Speakerboxxx album, which was a straight rap album, and Love Below was not a straight rap album at all. I believe there's maybe 2 full songs of rap from Andre. 3, I guess, if you include the one song with Andre and Big Boy on that album, and everything else was really far away from it. So the only album to ever win Album of the Year wasn't, I guess one of 2 albums wasn't straight hip-hop. Same thing with Lauryn Hill's Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I argue that that's a hip-hop album and not a rap album because I don't believe she's rapping over 51% on that project. But that wasn't a straight rap album either. So when you get to the Recording Academy, when you get to the Grammys and you're in the big 4 categories, we haven't seen a straight rap album win album of the year. We just haven't seen it. And so the other side of this point is interesting. Same thing with country. The same thing with country. You know, you can argue that these are probably two of America's most cultural genres, most culturally specific genres. And they haven't had success in the big four categories, or at least in this category at the Recording Academy. So that point jumped out at me too. Now, record of the year. This is where I think most of us are very interested, because most of us expect, or at least I think a lot of us hope Not Like Us wins record of the year or song of the year. And it's got a really good chance, but here's how they describe it, right? So it's going up against Beyonce, Benson Boone, Sabrina Carpenter, Espresso, Hozier, Too Sweet, Chaperone, Good Luck Babe, Shaboozey, A Bar Song, Tipsy, Taylor Swift featuring Post Malone, Fortnite. Like, I really think Tipsy is Tipsy, to me, with the success it's having, provides good cover for people who might have reservations about voting for Not Like Us, right? But don't want to view themselves as being culturally insensitive to the biggest song of the year, the biggest song globally, at least the biggest cultural song in rap maybe ever. So, okay, I don't know. I'm not going to say that it definitely is, but maybe ever, okay? 8 more that could get in. Charlie XCX, 360, Doja Cat, Agora Hills, Billie Eilish, Birds of a Feather, Ariana Grande, We Can't Be Friends, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars, Die With a Smile, Post Malone featuring Morgan Wallen, I Had Some Help, Teddy Swims, Lose Control, SZA, Saturn. Song of the year, Beyonce, Texas Hold'em, Benson Boone, Beautiful Things, Billie Eilish, Birds of a Feather, Ariana Grande, We Can't Be Friends, Hozier, Too Sweet, Kendrick Lamar, Not Like Us, 1 Second Applause, Not Like Us. Chaperone, Good Luck Babe, Taylor Swift featuring Post Malone, Fortnite. 8 others that can get in. The Beatles, Now and Then. Sabrina Carpenter, Please, Please, Please. Doja Cat, Agora Hills, love that song. 1 Second Applause for Agora Hills. Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars, Die With a Smile. Post Malone featuring Morgan Wallen, I Had Some Help, Ill, Yuck, Gross. Casey Musgraves, Deeper Well. Teddy Swims, Lose Control, SZA, Saturn. Now, these are songs that we've been reporting on every week as we go through these charts. But here's what they said about it, and there's some really good points here too. Although Song of the Year and Record of the Year are primarily on songwriting and production, respectfully, the categories traditionally have enough overlap that it's worth considering them together. The area where they might differ is most likely come up with something like Shaboozey's massive country and pop hit A Bar Song, which stands a strong chance for a Record of the Year nod, but is less likely to be honored for its songwriting, since the Academy is traditionally lukewarm on tunes driven by interpolations. Again, Shaboozey's song interpolates Jaquan, Everybody in the Club Gets Tipsy. So while you can have interpolations in there, the Academy doesn't tend to like that, right? Because it's a songwriting award. So they lean more heavily towards people with fresh songs written. Fresh songs written. All right. The front runners here are not necessarily the same as they are in the album field, especially since Lamar is a leading candidate who didn't even have an album out in the eligibility period. The chances for Not Like Us could be hobbled by the fact that it's a diss track, and Academy voters might disfavor something as ephemeral as a rap beef. Yet, it was a huge hit, and anyone who is inclined to favor hip-hop at all will channel that energy here as reward for Lamar represents the only serious chance to see the genre prevail in any of the big 4 categories. That's how dry this year has been on the rap side. That's how dry it's been on the rap side. You know, you can make an argument for Like That. I mean, Like That has been way up there in the charts all year, but it hasn't competed with Post Malone, Sabrina Carpenter, Chaperone, these other songs we've been seeing in the top 10 all year long. Teddy Swims has been sitting in the top 10 pretty much all year. That song has been out 60 weeks and it's still in the top 10. So Not Like Us is the stickiest track in the entire culture, entire hip hop. And so if anyone that is voting in the Recording Academy, voting for Grammys, it's really their only chance to support something rap related, something hip hop, right? The women who are contending so strongly for Album of the Year each face tougher odds for any individual tracks from those recordings because support for Beyonce, Swift, or Roan albums is really about spreading the love among multiple songs off those projects. Of course, Roan's shot in these two categories is a track that isn't even on her breakout album. The songs that really felt like they owned the year besides Lamar's are Espresso, I Had Some Help, and a bar song, and any of which could be seen as too lightweight to be named Record of the Year. However, strong their charms. I Had Some Help is the big question mark as far as nominations go, since Morgan Wallen, the featured artist on Post Malone's Smash, has never received a Grammy nomination before and continues to be polarizing. I mean, he got caught on camera dropping N-bombs, so Culture Vulture Malone and Mr. N-bomb, I describe them as polarizing too. But the CMAs sure loved that track, which just picked up multiple nominations there, and that Nashville support could mean Wallen finally breaks into the nominees circle. One big question going into the first ballot was, will Carpenter submit Espresso or Please, Please, Please in top categories, since those songs have been roughly equally successful. They've both been in the top 10 all year. With the former having a slight edge in terms of pure numbers and the latter maybe being favored by true fans, she or her people took a page out of Swift playbook by submitting one Espresso for Record of the Year and the other Please for Song of the Year. Interestingly, Swift did not take that page out of her own playbook this year, submitting Fortnite for both, when she could have also gone with I Can Do It Better with a Broken Heart for one or the other. It's a strong possibility that Carpenter will join Roan in having a nomination in all four general field categories. As for what will surely be the Beatles' last shot at being nominated, it's a long shot. The tune assembled by Paul McCartney from past scraps was beloved by some fans, not so much by others. But if the reunited ABBA was able to pick up surprising Grammy support a couple of years ago, there could be enough sentimentality here to at least garner the Fabs a valedictory nomination on their own. And if by chance you're wondering where Zach Bryan is in any of this, so are we. Variety was prepared to list Bryan's Pink Skies as at least a decent possibility to get a nod for Song of the Year with his recent album also standing a chance. But then the ballot was sent out to voters and it turned out he had not submitted himself in a single category. Okay. So you got Best New Artist here, Benson Boone, Sabrina Carpenter, Ray, Chappell Rose, Sexy Red, Shabuzi, Brittany Spencer, Teddy Swims, and then 8 more that could get in. Field, Sierra Farrell, Glorilla, Megan Maroney, Renee Rapp, Tommy Richmond, Nate Smith, and Thames, right? So here's what they say. Finally, a category where it feels like we already have a predetermined winner, let alone nominee. Best New Artist is Chappell Roan's To Lose, even if there will likely be some votes siphoned off by Carpenter, who undoubtedly is loved by much the same faction as the Academy members that would naturally go for Roan. Carpenter's first album was released nearly 10 years ago when she was 15, and her latest is her 6th, but that certainly hasn't stopped the Academy before. The Grammys gave it to Shelby Lynn for her reinvention on a 6th album. So I think Chappell Roan's probably going to take that. She's had such crazy success this year. I definitely don't think that we're going to see Sexy Red take it. I can tell you that. I definitely don't think Sexy Red's going to get up there. But we'll see how this goes. So these are predictions, very early predictions for the Grammys. Let me know what you guys think of this. I want to read just this one thing quickly. Quickly here, this is an update from The Hollywood Reporter on the Grammys. 66% of current Grammy voters have joined since 2019, most diverse representative Grammy electorate ever. Most diverse representative Grammy electorate ever. Here's the headline. Here's a subheader. In the past 5 years, the Recording Academy underwent an accelerated renewal process, and some members did not qualify as a result. That helped eliminate older voters and made way for newer voters, helping create a major shift. We have a major shift. Now, they have some stats around how that shift looks. The Grammys currently have more than 13,000 voting members. Since 2019, approximately 8,700 creators have become voting members, and the Academy has seen a 65% growth in voting members who are people of color. There's been a 90% growth for Black voting members, 90%. 43% growth for Latinos, and 100% growth for Asians, right? So they're more diverse. All right. The Academy also surpassed its goal of adding 2,500 women voting members by 2025 and have already added more than 3,000. Since 2019, women voting members have increased by 27%. Okay, now here's how they spread across genres. The Academy's voting body spans over 13 creative disciplines, including songwriters, composers, producers, engineers, vocalists, conductors, and more. Songwriters and composers make up the largest voting body at 46%, followed by producers and instrumentals at 33%. Vocalists account for 32%, followed by engineers at 19% and arrangers at 12%. Members from the pop genre account for 27% of current voters, while jazz is second with 19%. 19%. I mean, that's huge. That's a lot larger than I would think. And maybe that's a testament to how old jazz is. I don't know. I'm really shocked by that. I mean, I should ask why there's such a large jazz population. That's followed by R&B and rock, 17% each. American roots and alternative, 13% each. Classical, 12%. Rap, Latin, and global music, 10% each. While country and dance account for 9% each. So I think it's interesting how rap and country sort of mirror each other, even if maybe demographically or stereotypically we don't think about them as the same populations. But they really are, you know, incredibly culturally specific genres. And rap is at 10% and 9% for country. Now, Latin music to me be cheating, okay? I think Latin be cheating because they have their own Grammys. They have a whole Latin Grammys, and then they also have Latin at the Grammys. And so, you know, perhaps that is an ode to how large Latin America truly is. It's a whole continent, essentially. But I don't know, man. They got Latin over here, and they got Latin at the Grammys. I don't know. It's all good overall, but that always jumps out to me. Now, I did have a great time at the Latin Awards in Vegas in 2018. So 1 second applause for the Latin Grammy Awards. That's the update on the Grammys. The predictions. Let me know who you think is going to take home Record of the Year, Song of the Year. If you have any thoughts around any of this, I know this is a lot broader than just what's happening in rap and hip hop, but it does affect rap and hip hop. And this is a really interesting story on Hollywood Reporter talking about how diverse the Recording Academy voting body has become. I'll put links to both in the description if you want to check those out. My name is Justin Hunt. Like, subscribe to the channel, follow at The Company Man on everything. It's all happening.
Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. The mathematical breakdown of this mighty game of rap we in. It's boom bapping. Systematical culture views that's radical, it's all happening. Shaking hands and dapping it. Life through the lens of hip hop, from trip hop to yes, y'all, you don't stop, you don't stop. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening.